Apollo 13 is a film essentially about collective efficacy. And I think that, one of the opening quotes of the movies is that we are all on this same team to be the best, from the guys planning the launch, to the guys going on the launch, to the guys sweeping the floors. Something I've heard you say before, Patterson, quoting this movie. So I think it really sets the tone for the film. And I do appreciate that it started right away addressing the difference between individual efficacy and group efficacy. Because there is a difference. Right off the bat, the crew has to get switched up because one of the crew members is sick just a few days before the launch is scheduled to happen. And Jim, the main character, Tom Hanks, he says, yes, it's a great pilot, but my team, we can read each other's minds through the tone of our voice, and we know what each other mean, because we've been working together. So they have that group think, they have that collective efficacy. For me as an artist, there's a lot of artists I really respect. There's very few artists that I actually like working with. One of them is my friend from back home. We went to high school together. His name's Austin. And he's probably my favorite artist to collaborate with because we've done a lot of Lego sculpture together. We've done a few painting type things together. But when Austin and I do these large, because we used to go to the Legoland Grapevine, and we'd make these big sculptures to the point where, at one point we were talking with some people about doing some commissions, and those ended up falling through. But the group think. Someone might be a better Lego builder or a better artist than Austin, but I don't want them on my team because when I look over, Austin and I have barely talked, but we're on the same page with what we're building. Maybe he's building a head for something and I'm building a body, and they're the same width because we've already just kind of been 8 studs, got it. Groupthink, so important. That's, you got to have someone that you click with on your team. Especially in a group like this, it's so important. So crisis management is a huge part of this. Messing up can cost the crew their lives. So every person has to have good crisis management skills. Cool and calm demeanors. There's one of my favorite scenes in this film. They're all yelling at each other because I think there was a point where they needed to get some of those frustrations out, and really life or death. Sometimes you do have to take a second, just be frustrated. As soon as he gets on the line with Houston, it's he Tom Hanks' voice just changes immediately. I actually laughed out loud watching. I was like, man, as soon as it was time to get back to work and take care of business, we're gonna stop screaming, stop pointing fingers, and we're gonna make it happen. There's certainly a lot of creative problem solving in this film. The biggest one was when they were working through the carbon dioxide problem, and they actually had to build their own filter, and that was just thinking outside the box in a whole new way. And there's a time limit on the whole thing. As we had talked about the other day, which film was Bounded Rationality, which is something that I really liked. It's something I'm gonna bring up in my film that I'm gonna review because I've been working on Fellowship of the Ring, and because it's a group and it's a mission, and I think it works really well. But Bounded Rationality is in Apollo 13, it was when they're in the boardroom having this discussion, and they just got to make a choice. And they're like, well, this will help with power, this will help with oxygen. You got to make a choice based on what you know, the lesser of the two weevils. And the reason I brought up Fellowship is because, in working all that out, I realized, there's a scene where they're like, well, we could go over the Misty Mountains, or we could go through the mines of Moria, and everybody has their different opinions on it. Legolas wants to go over, Gimli wants to go under, and Gandalf just turns and said, we're going to let the ring bearer decide. He's got to make a decision. Bounded rationality, best guess, based on, and stick with that. And again, there's a lot, there's a lot, in a ship that also has to do with in space. A boat and a spaceship. There's a lot of similarities. Going back to the crisis management, the Mike Tyson quote. Everything's, you got a plan, you get punched in the face. New plan, on the spot. They're when they were sitting in the boardroom in Apollo 13, one of the guys is like, well, I don't know if this will work and this will work because it wasn't designed to do this. And the guy goes, I don't care what it was designed to do. I care what it can do. Let's test and see what it can do now. Because we're past the design function. Like, the guy's like, well, I know it was designed to land on the moon. He's like, forget about the moon. So we're just trying to save these guys. I think that, going back to the task significance, and the nationality was an interesting part of this movie, because it almost seemed like people didn't care about the astronauts and what they were doing anymore. One of the reporters asks Jim near the beginning of the movie, he goes, why should we even fund this? Because we've already beat Russia. And so this mindset of the American people, the American people weren't even watching the broadcasts until things got dicey, because it had just become routine. And I think that has to do with, being reactive versus being proactive. And that's something I've had to learn recently in my own mind, something that, through meditation and through dealing with what do I want, what are the steps I want to take, rather than just reacting to problems. There's two ways you could do it. We beat Russia to the moon, so we're done. Or, hold on, that's not why we wanted to go to the moon. What if Columbus had gone one time to America, and not come back? And I think nationality is good, and that competitive nature is good, but we shouldn't just be reactive to what another country is doing. We need to know in our own lives. And that's where, when I was talking about meditation, that's one reason I do it, because it helps me recenter myself to where I can say, okay, what do I want? I can check in with myself. What do I need to accomplish? What do I want to accomplish? Rather than, all this crazy stuff has just happened to me, let me just react to it blindly, sort of just sort of the monkey brain, where it's just this is happening, I'm going to react this way. This is happening, this is going to react this way. And that is like I was talking about with the Mike Tyson, when you get punched in the face, how are you going to react? But that shouldn't stop you from having a plan and a clear direction in the first place. I think I've pretty much beat the plan and that concept to death at this point. I think there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Going along with the rationality as a leader and being calm and collected, we don't always know what's going to happen as a leader, but I really liked the guys, the commanding officer at Mission Control, because there was one line, it's hey, the president wants odds, are these guys going to die? And really, nobody knows. They're working as hard as they can. Nobody knows that these guys are going to die. And the man, he turns around and he goes, we are not losing these men. That is not an option. And I love that attitude, because we can lose some big ones in life, but I don't think we need to go into things, especially things that are that important, with the attitude of we could lose, think you got to go in with the attitude of like, we're not going, like, we cannot lose these men's lives.